Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about traveling and explain why it is such an important and meaningful part of my life. For me, traveling is not only about going to a different place, it is also about discovering new things, learning about the world, meeting people, and having experiences that I cannot have at home. In my everyday life, I usually follow a simple routine. I wake up, go to work, do my tasks, and then come back home. Days can feel very similar to each other. That is why traveling is so important for me. It helps me break this routine. When I travel, everything changes. I see new buildings, new streets, and new landscapes. Even simple things like walking in a different city or using public transport feel new and interesting. Another reason I enjoy traveling is the opportunity to learn about different cultures. Every place has its own traditions, habits, and lifestyle. When I visit a new country, I try to understand how people live there. I observe how they communicate, what they eat, and how they spend their free time. I also like trying local food because food is a big part of culture. Sometimes the taste is very different from what I'm used to, but this makes the experience more exciting. Traveling also helps me improve my communication skills. When I am in a new country, I often need to speak English or use simple phrases in another language. This can be challenging, but it is also very useful. I become more confident when I talk to strangers, ask for directions, or order food in a restaurant. Step by step, I feel more comfortable communicating in different situations. Another important benefit of traveling is relaxation. When I travel, I take a break from my responsibilities and daily stress. I can focus on enjoying the moment. For example, I like walking around a new city, visiting parks, or sitting in a quiet place and just observing what is around me. These simple activities help me feel calm and refreshed. Traveling also gives me a chance to create special memories. Every trip is different, and each place has something unique. I remember small details like a beautiful street, a friendly conversation, or a nice meal. I often take photos to keep these memories, but the most important memories stay in my mind. When I think about my trips later, I feel happy and motivated to travel again. Sometimes I travel alone, and sometimes I travel with other people. Traveling alone helps me become more independent. I make my own decisions, plan my day, and solve problems by myself. This experience helps me grow and become more confident. On the other hand, traveling with friends or family is also very enjoyable. We can share experiences, talk, laugh, and support each other. Both ways of traveling have their own advantages. Of course, traveling is not always easy. It requires planning, time, and money. Sometimes there are problems like delays, bad weather, or misunderstandings. But I see these situations as part of the experience. They teach me how to stay calm, flexible, and patient. In general, traveling is one of the most valuable activities in my life. It helps me learn, relax, communicate, and grow as a person. It opens my mind and shows me how big and interesting the world is. I will talk about planning a trip and how I prepare before traveling. Good planning is very important because it helps avoid problems and makes the trip more comfortable and enjoyable. While I prepare well, I feel more relaxed and confident during my journey. The first step in planning is choosing a destination. I think about where I want to go and why. Sometimes I choose a place because I want to see something special, like a famous city, nature, or historical places. Other times I choose a destination because I want to relax or try something new. I also consider the weather, the season, and how much time I have. After choosing the destination, I start looking for transportation. I decide how I will travel by plane, train, bus, or car. I usually compare prices and travel time. For long distances, I prefer flying because it is faster. For shorter trips, I may choose a train or bus. Booking tickets in advance is often cheaper and more convenient. Next, I choose a place to stay. This can be a hotel, a hostel, or an apartment. I look for something comfortable, clean, and in a good location. It is important that the place is close to the city center or public transport. I often read reviews and check photos before booking. This helps me make a better decision. Another important part of preparation is packing. I think about what I need to take with me. I prepare clothes depending on the weather and activities. For example, if I go to a warm place, I take light clothes. If it is cold, I take warm jackets and shoes. I also pack important things like documents, phone charger, toiletries, and sometimes medicine. I also make a simple travel plan. I do not plan every minute, but I like to know what places I want to visit. For example, I may write a list of attractions, museums, parks, or restaurants. This helps me use my time better and not miss interesting places. At the same time, I leave some free time for spontaneous activities. Before traveling, I also check important details like my passport, tickets, and reservations. I make sure everything is ready. Sometimes I print documents or save them on my phone. This helps avoid stress at the airport or station. Preparation also includes thinking about budget. I plan how much money I will spend on transport, accommodation, food, and activities. This helps me control my expenses and avoid problems during the trip. In general, planning and preparation are very important steps in traveling. They help make the trip smoother, safer, and more enjoyable. When everything is organized, I can focus on enjoying the experience. I will talk about the journey itself and how I get to my destination. Traveling is not only about the place you visit, but also about the experience of getting there. The journey can be interesting, exciting, and sometimes a little stressful. When I travel, I usually start by going to the airport, train station, or bus station. I try to arrive early so I have enough time for everything. At the airport, I check in, go through security, and find my gate. This process can take time, so it is better not to be late. If I travel by plane, I enjoy the experience of flying. Sitting on the plane and looking out of the window can be very interesting. I can see clouds, cities, and landscapes from above. During the flight, I usually listen to music, watch something, or just relax. For long flights, it is important to stay comfortable and rest. If I travel by train or bus, the journey feels different. I can look outside and see the countryside, towns, and nature. This can be very relaxing. Sometimes I read a book, listen to music, or just enjoy the view. These moments make the journey more enjoyable. Traveling by car is also a good option, especially for short or medium distances. It gives more flexibility because I can stop whenever I want. I can take breaks, visit small places, or change my route. This makes the trip more personal and comfortable. During the journey, there can sometimes be delays or small problems. For example, a flight may be late or a train may be crowded. In these situations, it is important to stay calm and patient. I try to use this time to relax or do something useful, like reading or planning my next steps. Another important part of the journey is arriving at the destination. When I arrive, I usually feel excited and a little tired at the same time. I find my way to the hotel or place where I stay. Sometimes I use maps or ask for directions if I am not sure where to go. The first moments in a new place are always special. Everything looks new: the streets, the buildings, the people. Even simple things like signs or shops can feel different. This is the moment when the trip really begins. In general, the journey is an important part of traveling. It can be relaxing, interesting, and sometimes challenging, but it always brings you closer to a new experience. I will talk about accommodation and what it is like to stay in a new place during a trip. Where you stay is very important because it affects your comfort, rest, and overall travel experience. When I arrive at my destination, one of the first things I do is go to my hotel, hostel, or apartment. After a long journey, I usually feel tired, so it is important for me to have a comfortable place to relax. When I check in, I receive my key and sometimes basic information about the place, such as breakfast time or available services. I usually choose accommodation based on location. It is important for me to stay in a place that is close to the city center or near public transport. This makes it easier to move around and visit different places without spending too much time or money on travel. Comfort is another important factor. I like a clean room, a comfortable bed, and basic things like a shower, Wi-Fi, and a place to keep my belongings. Even simple accommodation can be very good if it is clean and organized. Sometimes I stay in a hotel, which is more private and quiet. Other times, I choose a hostel, especially when I want to save money or meet new people. In a hostel, I can talk to other travelers, share experiences, and learn about different cultures. This can make the trip more social and interesting. Staying in an apartment is also a good option, especially for longer trips. It feels more like home because there is often a kitchen and more space. I can cook my own food and live more independently. When I stay in a new place, I also take time to explore the area around it. I look for nearby shops, cafes, supermarkets, or transport stops. This helps me feel more comfortable and confident in the new environment. Safety is also very important. I always make sure to lock the door, keep my important items safe, and be careful in unfamiliar places. Feeling safe helps me relax and enjoy my trip more. In general, good accommodation makes a big difference in travel. It gives you a place to rest, recharge, and feel comfortable after a day of exploring. I will talk about activities and sightseeing, which are some of the most exciting parts of traveling. When I arrive in a new place and settle into my accommodation, I start exploring the city or area. This is the moment when I really experience the destination. One of the first things I usually do is walk around the city. Walking helps me understand the place better. I can see the streets, buildings, shops, and local life. I often start with the city center because it usually has the most interesting places. Walking also gives me a chance to discover small details that I might miss if I use transport all the time. I like visiting popular attractions such as museums, historical buildings, monuments, and parks. These places help me learn about the history and culture of a location. For example, in a museum, I can see art, objects, and information about the past. In parks, I can relax, enjoy nature, and take a break from the busy city. Another important activity for me is trying local food. I like going to restaurants, cafes, or even small street food places. Every country has its own special dishes, and trying new food is one of the best parts of traveling. Sometimes I choose something familiar, but often I try something completely new. This makes the experience more exciting and memorable. I also enjoy simple activities like sitting in a cafe, watching people, or walking near water, such as a river or the sea. These quiet moments help me relax and enjoy the atmosphere of the place. Traveling is not only about doing many activities, but also about feeling the environment and taking time to observe. Sometimes I take part in guided tours. A guide can explain the history and interesting facts about a place. This helps me understand more than just what I see. Guided tours are especially useful in big cities or historical areas where there's a lot to learn. I also like taking photos during my trips. Photos help me remember places, moments, and emotions. I take pictures of buildings, streets, food, and sometimes people. Later, when I look at these photos, I remember my experiences and feel happy again. Another important part of traveling is meeting new people. Sometimes I talk to locals, ask questions, or have simple conversations. I may also meet other travelers. These interactions can be very interesting because we share experiences and learn from each other. Of course, I do not plan every minute of my trip. I like to have some free time for spontaneous activities. For example, I may find a place that is not in my plan, but it looks interesting, so I decide to visit it. These unexpected moments are often the most memorable. Traveling also helps me step out of my comfort zone. I try new things, go to new places, and experience situations that are different from my normal life. This makes me more open-minded and confident. In general, activities and sightseeing are the heart of traveling. They allow me to explore, learn, relax, and enjoy every moment of the trip. Each day brings something new, and every experience becomes part of my personal story that I will talk about communication and how I interact with people while traveling. Communication is an important part of any trip because it helps me find places, ask for help, and connect with others. When I travel to another country, I often use English as a common language. Even if people speak a different language, many of them understand basic English. I usually use simple sentences like, "Where is this place? How much does it cost?" Or "Can you help me?" Simple and clear communication works best. Sometimes I also learn a few basic words in the local language. For example, I try to say hello, thank you, or please. Even small efforts like this make a good impression and show respect for the local culture. People often react more positively when you try to speak their language. Communication is especially important in places like restaurants, hotels, and shops. In a restaurant, I read the menu, ask questions, and order food. In a hotel, I may ask about services or directions. In shops, I ask about prices or products. These are everyday situations where communication is necessary. When I do not understand something, I try to stay calm and ask again. I can say, "Can you repeat, please?" Or "Can you speak more slowly?" Most people are willing to help if I ask politely. Nonverbal communication is also very useful. Sometimes I use gestures like pointing or showing something on my phone. This helps when words are not enough. For example, I can show a map or a picture to explain what I need. Meeting new people is one of the best parts of traveling. I sometimes talk to locals or other travelers. We can share experiences, talk about our countries, or give each other advice. These conversations can be short, but they make the trip more interesting and personal. It is also important to be polite and respectful in communication. Saying please, thank you, and excuse me makes interactions more positive. A friendly attitude helps create better connections with people. Sometimes communication can be difficult, especially if there is a language barrier. But these situations are also part of the travel experience. They teach me patience, creativity, and flexibility. In general, communication helps me navigate new places, solve problems, and connect with people. It makes traveling easier and more enjoyable.
Tell me why you want to learn English. The 3 most interesting comments will get 10 English lessons absolutely free. The best comment under this video gets English lessons, completely free. So go ahead and write your comment now.